Think about the value of a superhuman
Mm.
persuasive model, of a model that can persuade people to change their beliefs, attitudes, intentions, motivations, or behaviors. We are talking about something that is inevitably going to occur. If the capabilities are possible, someone will build them and someone will utilize them for their own gain. Welcome to the Artificial Intelligence Show, the podcast that helps your business grow smarter by making AI approachable and actionable. My name is Paul Raitzer. I'm the founder and CEO of Marketing AI Institute, and I'm your host. Each week, I'm joined by my co-host and Marketing AI Institute Chief Content Officer, Mike Kaput, as we break down all the AI news that matters and give you insights and perspectives that you can use to advance your company and your career. Join us as we accelerate AI literacy for all. Welcome to episode 110 of the Artificial Intelligence Show. I'm your host, Paul Raitzer, along with my co-host, Mike Kaput. As always, we have a rather intriguing episode today. I don't even know. This whole strawberry mystery just continues to grow, and it's gotten kind of wild. And so, we're recording this Monday, August 12th, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. By the time you listen to this, I expect we're going to know a little bit more about what in the world is going on with strawberry and who this mystery Twitter account is, and it's just wild. So we've got a lot to cover today. Prepping for this one was pretty interesting this morning, getting ready to go. So we're going to get into all of that. Today's episode is brought to us again by the Marketing AI Conference, our 5th annual Marketing AI Conference, or MACON, happening in Cleveland, September 10th to the 12th. There are a total of 69 sessions, 33 breakouts across 2 tracks of applied AI and strategic AI, 16 AI tech demos, 10 main stage general sessions and keynotes, 5 lunch labs, 3 pre-conference workshops, 2 of which are being taught by Mike and myself, and 2 mindfulness sessions. So the agenda is absolutely packed. If you haven't checked it out yet, go to macon.ai. That's MAICON.ai. I'll just give you a quick sense of some of the sessions. So I'm leading off with the road to AGI, a potential timeline of what happens next, what it means, and what we can do about it. We're going to preview some of that actually today. We've got digital doppelgangers, how savvy teams are augmenting their unique talents using the magic of AI with Andrew Davis. Lessons learned in early leadership of scaling marketing AI with Amanda Todorovich from Cleveland Clinic. Future of AI is open with one of our, longtime Institute supporters and speakers, Christopher Penn. Got navigating the intersection of copyright law and generative AI with Rachel Dooley and Krista Laser. Generative AI and the future of work with Mike Walsh. Marketing the trust economy with Liz Grennan and McKinsey, and just keeps going on and on. So absolutely check it out. It's again in Cleveland, September 10th to the 12th. You can use promo code POD200. That's POD 200 to save $200 off all passes. We only have I didn't look at the countdown clock, about 28 days left until the event. So Mike and I have a lot of work to do over the next month or so here to get ready. But again, check out macon.ai, click register, and be sure to use that POD200 code. All right, Mike. I don't even know where to go with this strawberry thing, but let's go ahead and get into what's happening at OpenAI, which seems like the weekly recurring topic, and then this strawberry thing that just is taking on a life of its own.
Yeah, there's never a dull moment at OpenAI, it certainly seems, because first, they are experiencing some pretty serious leadership changes. So we're going to first just tee that up and then talk about what the heck Strawberry is and what's going on with it. So first up, Greg Brockman, OpenAI president and co-founder, said he's taking an extended leave of absence, which he says just a sabbatical, until the end of the year. At the same time, John Schulman, another co-founder and a key leader in AI, has left OpenAI to join rival company Anthropic. And he said he wanted to work more deeply on AI alignment, and that's why he is leaving. Possibly related, possibly not, Peter Deng, a product leader who joined OpenAI last year from Meta, has also departed the company. So, as you recall, these aren't the only or first people to have left. Ilya Sutskever left after all sorts of controversy last year around the boardroom coup to oust Sam Altman. And Andrej Karpathy has left to go work on an AI education startup. So these kinds of departures have really led some industry observers to question, like, how close is OpenAI really to breaking through to creating AGI? So, AI researcher Benjamin de Kreker put it in a post on X. He put it really well. He said, "quote If OpenAI is right on the verge of AGI, why do prominent people keep leaving?" And he went on to say, "quote Genuine question. If you were pretty sure the company you're a key part of and have equity in is about to crack AGI within 1 to 2 years, why would you jump ship?" Now, interestingly, in parallel to this, and Paul, I'll let you kind of unpack this for us, there have been a series of very cryptic posts referencing Strawberry, which is an OpenAI project we had referenced previously, centered around advanced reasoning capabilities for AI, that have been posts that have been engaged with by Sam Altman, posts coming from anonymous accounts. Really does seem in a weird way like something is brewing when it comes to Strawberry, as well as we're seeing more and more references both from Sam and from other parties in relation to those possible AI capabilities. So, Paul, let's kind of maybe take this one step at a time. Like, I want to start off with the question that the AI researcher posed. If OpenAI is right on the verge of AGI, why do you think prominent people like these are leaving?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I have no idea. All any of us can really do at this point is speculate. The couple of notes I would make related to this is Greg and John are co-founders. Like I would assume their shares have vested long ago in
Mm,
OpenAI. So unless, more shares are granted or they have some that haven't vested, their money's safe either way. So if Greg wants to peace out for a while and things keep going, his equity's not going anywhere. So I don't think their equity has anything to do with whether or not a breakthrough has been made internally or whether the next model is, on the precipice of coming. Um, so Greg is supposedly taking leave of absence, as you said. Maybe he is, maybe he's done. I don't know.
yeah.
And maybe John's leaving because he thinks AGI is actually near and Anthropic is a better place to work on safety and alignment. So I don't know that we can read anything into any of this, really. It's complicated, and I think we just got to let it sort of play out. I do have a lot of unanswered questions about the timing of Greg's leave. So on August 5th is when he tweeted, "I'm taking a sabbatical through end of year. First time to relax since co founding OpenAI 9 years ago. The mission is far from complete. We still have a safe AGI to build." He then tweeted on August 8th, this first tweet since he left or went on sabbatical. "A surprisingly hard part of my break is beginning the fear of missing out for everything happening at OpenAI right now. Lots of results cooking. I've poured my life for the past 9 years into OpenAI, including the entirety of my marriage. Our work is important to me, but so is life. I feel okay taking this time, in part because our research, safety, and product progress is so strong. I'm super grateful for the team we've built and its unprecedented talent density and proud of our progress. Looking forward to completing our mission together." So I don't know. He doesn't really tweet about his personal life too much. It kind of indicates to me like maybe this is just to get his personal life in order, or,
Mm,
give some focus to that after 9 years. Maybe that's all it is. Um, and then I just kind of scan back to see, well, what has he been tweeting leading up to this? He doesn't do as many cryptic tweets as Sam Altman. He does his own fair share, but his last like six tweets were all pretty product related. So on 7/18, so July 18th, he said just released a new state of art and fast, cheap, but still quite capable models. That was the 4.0 Mini, which we're going to talk more about. On July 18th, just launched ChatGPT Enterprise compliance controls and then featured some of their enterprise customers like BCG and PwC and Los Alamos. On July 25th, Search GPT prototype now live, and then on July 30th, advanced voice mode rolling out. So he's been very product focused in his tweets, so we can't really learn too much from that. The thing I found unusual is Sam Altman didn't reply to Greg's tweet. Sam replies to every high profile person's tweet that
mm,
leaves or temporarily separates from OpenAI. So, for example, the same day that Greg announced he was taking a sabbatical, John Schulman announced he was leaving. And Sam posted 25 minutes later a reply to John's tweet saying, "We will miss you tremendously," telling the story of how they met in 2015. Um, so I just thought it was weird that he didn't individually tweet about or reply to Greg's tweet. Again, can you read anything into that? I don't know. It's just out of the ordinary. Um, and maybe it's because he was too busy vague tweeting about strawberries and AGI to deal with it. So,
Or yeah, so maybe because that is such a key piece of this is amidst all these like personnel changes, which is what everyone's like, the headlines are focused on. There's all these cryptic tweets he's been posting about AGI, about Strawberry. Can you maybe walk us through like what's going on here? Because, as we've seen in the past, I think on this show and just in our work, like paying attention to what he posts is usually a very good idea.
yeah. So the last like 4 days have been kind of insane if you follow the the inner people within the AI world. So if you'll recall, the Strawberry thing, this codename Strawberry project, was first reported by Reuters. We talked about it in episode 106, so about a month ago,
Hmm.
we talked about this. So at the time, Reuters said Strawberry appears to be a novel approach to AI models aimed at dramatically improving their reasoning capabilities. The project's goal is to enable AI to plan ahead and navigate the internet autonomously to perform what OpenAI calls deep research. While details about how Strawberry works are tightly guarded, OpenAI appears to be hoping that this innovation will significantly enhance its AI models' ability to reason. The project involves a specialized way of processing AI models after they've been pre trained on large data sets. Now, the Strawberry reference we also talked about in episode 106, half jokingly, but I'm not so sure it isn't true, is maybe a way to troll Elon Musk. So, if you'll remember, Elon Musk was involved early days of OpenAI. And in 2017, 3 months before the Transformer paper came out from Google Brain that invented the Transformer, which is the basis for GPT, generative pre trained transformer, Elon Musk, who was still working with OpenAI and Sam Altman at the time, said, let's say you create a self improving AI to pick strawberries. And it gets better and better at picking strawberries and picks more and more. And it is self improving. So all it really wants to do is pick strawberries. So then it would have all this world be strawberry fields forever. And there would be no room for human beings. So that was kind of like episode 106. We just sort of talked about it. It was in Reuters. Now, fast forward to August 7th. So, this is now 2 days after Greg announces his sabbatical. Sam tweets a picture of actual strawberries, not AI generated. And he says, I love my summer garden. So, here's Sam Veg tweeting about strawberries. Uh, about 7 hours later, a new Twitter account called I Rule the World MO, and double check me on that, Mike, make sure I'm getting the right Twitter handle here, tweeted in all lowercase, now which is Sam's sort of MO, is all lowercase. Welcome to level 2. How do you feel? Did I make you feel? And Sam, now keep in mind this account had been created that morning. Sam actually replied, amazing, TBH, to be honest. So Sam replied to this random Twitter account that was tweeting about AGI and strawberries. So, what is level 2? So, what is this welcome to level 2 tweet? Well, um, level 2, as reported in July 2024 by Rachel Metz of Bloomberg, is that OpenAI has come up with a set of 5 levels to track its progress towards building AI software capable of outperforming humans.
Hmm.
They shared this new classification system with employees that Tuesday. So, this is in early July. At the meeting, company leadership gave a demonstration of a research project involving GPT-4a model that OpenAI thinks shows some new skills that rise to human-like reasoning. So the assumption is whatever Strawberry is was shown to their employees in early July.
Hmm.
Now, their 5 levels are level 1, chatbots, AI with conversational language. That's what we have. Level 2, reasoners, human level problem solving. That's the assumption of what we are about to enter. Level 3, agents, systems that can take actions. We don't have those yet, other than demonstrations of them. Level 4, innovators, AI that can aid in invention. That is not currently possible. Level 5, organizations, AI that can do the work of an organization. This goes back to Something we talked about, an article earlier on with Ilya Sutskevo, where he was quoted in The Atlantic as talking about these like hive-like organizations where there's just
Right.
hundreds or thousands of AI agents doing these things. So the I Rule the World MO Twitter account, let's go back to that for a second. The profile picture is Joaquin Phoenix from the movie Her with 3 strawberry emojis. So that's what the Twitter account states. The first tweet from that account was August 7th at 1:33 p.m. So again, that's right before Sam replied to this account. So Sam is aware of this account very, very, very early in its existence.
Hmm.
Um, so that reply was to Yam Peleg. I don't know who he is. He's an AI guy. He had said, "Feel the AGI guys," and this "I Rule the World" MO account tweeted, "Nice." The account then started a flood of hundreds of strawberry and AI related tweets, multiple times referencing Sam's garden tweet with his pictures of strawberries and implying that a major release is coming. So I'll just run through a few of these to give you a sense of what's going on. So later on August 7th, tweets, "Sam's strawberry isn't just ripe, it's ready. Tonight we taste the fruit of AGI. The singularity has a flavor." Uh, 3 minutes later, "Someone very high up is boosting my account. Guess who?" In other words, the algorithm at Twitter immediately started juicing this anonymous account. And it was very obvious that it was happening. And thousands of people were starting to follow it.
Hmm.
21 minutes later, "Altman's strawberry isn't a fruit, it's a key. Tonight we unlock the door to super intelligence. Are you ready to step through?" 8 minutes later, it turns out that I'm AGI. Oh, if it turns out I'm AGI, I'll be so pissed. Because now people are trying to, like, at this point, guess what is this account? Is this an
Hmm.
AI? Like, is someone running a test? Is this actually like OpenAI screwing around with people? Is it something else? 6 minutes later, it tweets, "No one's guessed Grok yet, even though they know of Elon Musk engineering prowess and his super clusters. Obviously, I'm not saying I'm Grok, but just that it's kind of odd, right?" And then fast forward to August 10th, so just a couple days ago, and this anonymous account tweeted a rather extensive, what appears to be very accurate summary of OpenAI in the current situation. And this connects back to Greg in a moment. So the tweet is rushed a little, but we'll refine and add some more info I've been given in it if it bangs. Project Strawberry slash Q Star. AI Explained has been close to this for a while, so I'd watch them for a cleaner take if you want to dig in. This is what Ilya saw. It's what has broken math benchmarks. It's more akin to reinforcement learning, human feedback than throwing compute at the problem. Gets into strawberry and larger models, comes on Thursday, so they're implying this week. Think of LLM fine tuned to reason like a human, hence why Sam liked the level 2 comment and felt great about it. Ilya did not. Here we are. And then it talks about what I talked about last week, that maybe we're actually seeing the future model with a combination of Sora, voice, video, and then all the stuff that's going into safety. It goes on to say that GPT Next, internally called GPTX, you can call it GPT-5, it says, is also ready to go. Lots here relies on safety and what Google does next. It's difficult to say if competition will trump safety. This next model is through red teaming. It's finished. Post training is done. It's an enormous leap in capabilities, and on and on and on. And then, as of this morning, so 5:27 a.m. Eastern time on August 12th, this anonymous account tweets, "Attention isn't all you need," referring to the "Attention is all you need" Transformer paper from 2017. New architecture announcement August 13th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. The singularity begins. Now, oddly enough, the next Made by Google event is August 13th at 10 a.m. Pacific. Now, I don't know if that's a reference to, depending on what Google does, whether or not this next model gets released. So the question is, what is this "I Rule the World" MO account, which at the moment of recording this has almost 23.5 thousand followers, which it has amassed in 4 days. It is getting juiced, obviously, by Twitter slash X and maybe Elon Musk himself. Um, is it like an anonymous count of GPT-5? Like, are they running an experiment and it's actually an AI? Is it Elon trolling OpenAI for trolling him and it's actually like Grok 2? Is it a human who has a massive amount of time on their hands? Is it another? Like, we don't know. But then to add to the mystery, last night, Arvind Srinivas, the founder of Perplexity, shows a screenshot that says, how many R's are there in this sentence? there are many strawberries in a sentence that's about strawberries. And whatever model he was teasing got it correct, which is
Mm.
a notoriously difficult problem. And he put, guess what model this is with a strawberry in it. The implication being that Perplexity Pro is running whatever this strawberry model is. Then, for following along at home, Elon at 6:38 p.m. on August 11th tweets Grok 2 beta release coming soon. So what does this all mean? I have no idea who this anonymous account is, but it does appear something significant is coming. We may have a new model this week. It may already be in testing with Perplexity Pro.
Mm.
Um, I think we will find out sooner than later. So now back real quick to Greg. What does this mean for OpenAI and Greg? His work is done for now, and this whatever he has now built, whatever this thing that is in its final, training and safety is whatever model that is, won't be released until he returns at the end of the year. I find that doubtful. His work is done for now, and he's leaving the team to handle the launch, or nothing has changed internally. There is no major release coming, and he's just taking time off. If I was a betting man, I'm going with option B. I think Greg is heavily involved in the building of these models. I think the work of building the next model is complete, and they're just finalizing timing and plans for the release of that model. And I think he's stepping aside to take some personal time and come back. So I don't know, Mike. I don't know if you followed along the craziness of the strawberry stuff over the weekend, but I mean, that account has tweeted, I don't know how many tweets it actually
It's unreal.
It has to be over 1,000,
Yeah.
like in the first 4 days.
It is. I mean, look, obviously, we've said we have no idea what this all ends up meaning, but the fact, I think there's something directionally important about the fact we're even talking about this and taking it seriously. These kinds of breakthroughs and levels of AGI, or call it advanced artificial intelligence, whatever you'd like to term it. It really does speak to kind of some of the paths and trajectories that we've been kind of anticipating throughout the last year or two.
Yeah, and my guess that it is some form of an AI. I
Mm,
think there's some human in the loop here,
yeah.
but I don't think a human is managing this. So I do think it's probably some model. I don't know whose model it is.
Mm,
Um, and I think it's an experiment being run. And the fascinating thing is, it's not just 24,000 random followers, it's
right.
24,000 people who are paying very close attention to AI, who are not only following, but who are interacting with it. And so, what do we learn from this experiment? Like, whoever it is, whatever model it is, in 4 days' time, it amassed 24,000 followers, including a lot of influential AI people who are not only engaging with it, but trying to figure out what it is, who it is. So I don't know. There's just a lot to be learned, when we can look back and understand a little bit more about this moment. I have a sense that this is a meaningful moment,
Mm.
while the anonymous account itself may end up being seemingly insignificant when we find out what it actually is. I think that there's a lot of underlying things to be learned from this. And if it is an AI that is doing most of the engagement, that's going to be kind of interesting.
All right. So, in our second big topic today, Paul, I'm going to basically turn this over to you, but you, through your company SmarterX.ai, have built a ChatGPT powered tool called Jobs GPT. And this is a tool that is designed to assess the impact of AI, specifically large language models, on jobs and the future of work. So basically, you can use this tool. We both used it a bunch to assess how AI is going to impact knowledge workers by breaking your job into a series of tasks and then starting to label those tasks based on perhaps the ability of an LLM to perform that for you. So, really, the whole goal here is whether it's your job, other people's jobs within your company, or in other industries, you can use Jobs GPT to actually unpack, okay, how do I actually start transforming my work using artificial intelligence? What levels of exposure does my work have to possible AI disruption? So, Paul, I wanted to turn it over to you and just kind of get a sense of why did you create this tool? Why now? Why is this important?
Yeah, so this is going to be a little bit behind the scenes. This isn't like a highly orchestrated launch of a tool. This is um, something I've basically been working on for a couple months. And over the weekend, I was messaging Mike and saying, "Hey," or I think Friday, I messaged Mike, said, "Hey, I think we're going to launch this thing like next week. We'll just talk about it on the podcast and put it out into the world." And I think part of this is the SmarterX company, you mentioned. So we announced SmarterX. It's just smarterx.ai is the URL. Um, in June. And the premise here is I've been working on this for a couple of years. This company, it's an AI research and consulting firm, but heavy focus on the research side. And the way I envision the future of research firms is much more real-time research, not spending 6 months, 12 months working on a report that's outdated the minute it comes out because the
Mm.
models have changed since you did the research. I envision our research firm being much more real time and honestly, where a lot of the research is going to be things we dive deep on, and then Mike and I talk about on podcast episodes. And so I would say that this is probably Jobs GPT is sort of our first public facing research initiative that I've
Hmm.
chosen just to put out into the world to start accelerating like the conversation around this stuff. So it is not available in the GPT store. It's a beta release. So if you want to go play with it, you can do it while we're talking about this and follow along. Just go to smarterx.ai and click on tools, and it's right there. Now, the reason we're doing it that way is because I may iterate on versions of this pretty rapidly. And so we're just going to keep updating it. And then the link from our SmarterX site will be linking to the most current version of it. So why was this built? I'm going to talk a little bit about the origin of the idea, a little bit about how I did it, and then back to why it matters, I think, and
Mm.
why people should be experimenting with stuff like this. So you highlighted two main things, Mike. So we talk to companies all the time. On the as episode 105, we talked about like the lack of adoption and education and training around these AI platforms, specifically large language models. We're turning employees loose with these platforms and not teaching them how to use them, not teaching them how to prioritize use cases and identify the things that are going to save them time or make the greatest impact. And then at the higher level, this idea that we need to be assessing the future of work and the future of jobs by trying to project out 1 to 2 models from now. What are these things going to be capable of that maybe they're not capable of today? That's going to affect the workforce
Mm.
and jobs and job loss and disruption. So when I set out to build this, I had those two main things in mind: prioritize AI use cases, like hold people's hand, help them find the things where AI can create value in their specific role, and then help leaders prepare for the future of work. So how it kind of came to be though. So I've shared before, since early last year when I do my keynotes, I often end for like leadership audiences with 5 steps to scaling AI. Those became the foundation for our Scaling AI course series. Those 5 steps, as a quick recap, are education and training. So build an AI academy, step one. Build AI council, step two. Step three is Gen AI policies, responsible AI principles. Step four, and this is one we're going to come back to, AI impact assessments. Step five, AI roadmap. Now, the AI impact assessments, when I was creating that course for Scaling AI, course 8, I was creating this at the end of May, early June of this year. I wanted to find a way to assess the impact today, but to forecast the impact tomorrow.
Mm.
And since we don't know really what these models are going to be capable of, I wanted to build a way to try and project this. So the way I did this is I went back to the August 2023 paper, GPTs are GPTs, an early look at the labor market impact potential of large language models. So what that means is generative pre-trained transformers, the basis for these language models, are general, I just lost purpose technologies. So GPTs are GPTs. That paper says, and I quote, August 2023, OpenAI research paper investigates the potential implications of large language models, such as generative pre-trained transformers, on the US labor market, focusing on increasing capabilities arising from LLM powered software compared to LLMs on their own. So they're trying to look at, when we take the basis of this large language model, and then we enhance it with other software, what does it become capable of, and how disruptive is that to the workforce? Um, Using a new rubric, we assess occupations based on their alignment with LLM capabilities. And then they used human expertise and GPT classifications. Their finding revealed that around 80% of the US workforce would have at least 10% of their work tasks affected by the introduction of large language models, while approximately 19% of workers may see at least 50% of their tasks impacted. We do not make predictions about the development or adoption timelines of such LLMs. The projected effects span all wage levels and higher income jobs potentially facing greater exposure to LLM capabilities and LLM powered software. They then go into kind of how they did this, where they take the ONET database, which I talked about on the show before. But if you go to ONET, it has like 900 occupations in there,
Hmm.
and it'll actually give you the tasks associated with those occupations. So you can kind of like train the model on these tasks. Um, their findings consistently show across both human and GPT-4 annotations that most occupations exhibit some degree of exposure to large language models. Occupations with higher wages generally present with higher exposure. Um, so basically, what they did is they took um, two levels of exposure. So there was no exposure, meaning the large language model isn't going to impact the job. So very little exposure. And then they took direct exposure. So if using a chat GPT, like a large language model, chat GPT, that it could affect the job, that it would be able to do it at like a human level, and it would affect the that job within the workforce. And then they took another exposure level they called level 2 and said, if we took the language model and we gave it software capabilities, how much impact would it then have? So when I was creating the Scaling AI course and trying to explain to people how to do these AI impact assessments, I adapted a version of that exposure level and I took it out to E0 to E6, where it added image capability, vision capability, audio, and reasoning.
Hmm.
So I ran an experiment. I created this prompt in the course and I put it into Gemini and ChatGPT, and I was kind of shocked by the output because it assessed jobs with me not telling it what the job did. I could just say like marketing manager, and it would build out the tasks based on its training data of what marketing managers do. And then it would assess it based on exposure levels of those tasks and how much time could be saved by using a large language model with these different capabilities. So after I finished recording those courses and released those in June, I couldn't shake the idea of like we needed to do more with this, that
Hmm.
this early effort was like really valuable. And so for the last month and a half or so, I've been working on a custom GPT, which is the Jobs GPT that we're kind of releasing today. Um, but the key was to expand that exposure key, like the exposure levels. And so the way I designed this prompt, so the system prompt for this thing is about 8,000 characters, but the gist of it is that it doesn't just look at what an AI model can do to your job today, whether you're an accountant, a lawyer, a CEO, a marketing manager, a podcast host, whatever you do. It's looking at your job, breaking it into a series of tasks, and then projecting out the impact of these models as the models get smarter and more generally capable. So those are the exposure levels. So I'll kind of give you the breakdown of the exposure key here. And again, you can go play with this yourself. And as you do an output, it'll tell you what the exposure key is. So it'll kind of remind you. So the first is no exposure. The LLM cannot reduce the time for this task, typically requires high human interaction. Exposure 1, direct exposure. The LLM can reduce the time required. 2, exposure level 2 is additional software is added, so such as software like a CRM database, and it's able to write real-time summaries about customers and prospects. E3 is it has image capabilities, so the language model plus the ability to view, understand, caption, create, and edit images. E4 is video capabilities, so it now has the ability to view, understand, caption, create, and edit videos. 5 is audio capabilities, which we talked about with GPT-4 voice mode. Um, so the ability to hear, understand, transcribe, translate, output audio, and have natural conversations through devices. E6, which is where the strawberry stuff comes in. So now I'll kind of connect the dots here for people as to why this is so critical. We're thinking about this. E6 is exposure given advanced reasoning capabilities. So the large language model plus the ability to handle complex queries, solve multi step problems, make more accurate predictions, understand deeper contextual meaning, compete higher level cognitive tasks, draw conclusions, and make decisions. E7, which we're going to talk about a little later on, exposure given persuasion capabilities. The LLM plus the ability to convince someone to change their beliefs, attitudes, intentions, motivations, or behaviors. E8, something we've talked about a lot on this one, AI agents on this show, exposure given digital world action capabilities. So the large language model we have today, plus AI agents with the ability to interact with, manipulate, and perform tasks in digital environments, just as a human would using an interface such as a keyboard and mouse or touch or voice on the smartphone. E9, exposure given physical world vision capabilities. This is like Project Astra from Google DeepMind. So we know labs are building these things, but
Mm.
no economist I know of is projecting impact on workforce based on these things.
Hmm.
So E9 is large language model plus a physical device such as phones or glasses that enable the system to see, understand, analyze, and respond to the physical world. And then E10, which we'll talk about an example in a couple minutes, is exposure given physical world abilities like humanoid robots. The LLM embodied in a general purpose bipedal autonomous humanoid robot that enables the system to see, understand, analyze, respond to, and take action in the physical world. So these exposure levels are critical. And
Mm.
I know we're like giving some extended time on this podcast to this, but it is extremely important you understand these exposure levels. Like go back and re-listen to those. Go to the landing page on SmarterX and read them. We cannot plan our businesses or our careers or our next steps as a government based on today's capabilities. This is the number one flaw I see from businesses and from economists. They are making plans based on today's capabilities.
Mm.
This is why we shared the AI timeline in episode 87 of the podcast, where we are trying to like see around the corner a little bit. We have to try and look 12 to 18 to 24 months out. We know all the AI labs are working on the things I just explained. This is what business leaders, economists, education leaders, government leaders all need to be doing. We have to be trying to project out the impact. So this jobs GPT is designed to do that. You literally just go in, give it your job title, and it'll spit out a chart with all this analysis. So it's taken a lot of trial and error, lots of internal testing. You know, I had Mike help me with some of the testing over the last couple of weeks. But the beauty of this is like up until November 2023, when OpenAI released GPTs, custom GPTs, I couldn't have built this. Like I've built tools in my past life at my age when I owned my agency using developers and
Mm.
hundreds of thousands of dollars and having to find data sources. I didn't have to do any of that. I envisioned a prompt based on an exposure level I created with my own knowledge and experience. And then I just played around with custom GPT instructions until I got the output I wanted. I have zero coding ability. This is purely taking knowledge and being able to build a tool that hopefully helps people.
Mhm.
So I'll kind of wrap here with like a little bit about the tool itself. So it is ChatGPT powered, so it'll hallucinate, it'll make stuff up. Um, but as you highlighted, Mike, the goal is to assess the impact of AI by breaking jobs into tasks and then labeling those tasks based on these exposure levels. So it's about an 8,000 character prompt, which is the limit, by the way, in custom GPTs. The prompt is tailored to the current capabilities of today's leading AI frontier models and projecting the future impact. So the way I do that is here is an excerpt of the prompt. So this is literally the instructions. And this is on the landing page, by the way, if you want to read them. Consider a powerful large language model such as GPT-4o, Claude 3.5, Gemini 1.5, and Llama 3.1 405B. This model can complete many tasks that can be formulated as having text and image input and output, where the context for the input can be measured or captured in 128,000 tokens. The model can draw on facts from its training data, which stops at October 2023, which is actually the cutoff for GPT-4o. Access the web for real-time information, and apply user-submitted examples and content, including text files, images, and spreadsheets. Again, this is my instructions to the GPT. Assume you're a knowledge worker with an average level of expertise. Your job is a collection of tasks. This is a really important part of the prompt. You have access to the LLM as well as any other existing software and computer hardware tools mentioned in the tasks. You also have access to any commonly available technical tools accessible via a laptop, such as a microphone and speakers. You do not have access to any other physical tools. Now, part of that prompt is based on the GPTs or GPT system prompt. So that's actually kind of where the origin
Mm.
of the inspiration for that prompt came from. And then the GPT itself has 3 conversation starters. Enter a job title to assess. You can literally just put in whatever your job title is, and it'll immediately break it into tasks and give you the chart. You can provide your job description. So this is something Mike and I teach in our applied AI workshops. Literally just upload your job description, copy and paste the 20 things you're responsible for, and it'll assess those. Or you can say, just show me an example assessment. It then outputs it based on task, exposure level, estimated time saved, and the rationale, which is the magic of it. Like the fact how it assesses the estimated time it's giving you is remarkable. Um, so it's powered by ChatGPT, as I said. It's capable of doing beyond the initial assessment. Think of it as like a planning assistant here. You can have a conversation with it. You can push it to help you turn your chat into an actual plan. Where I have found it excels is in the follow-up prompts. So I,
Mm,
gave those on the landing page where you say break it into subtasks is a magical one. Help me prioritize the tasks. It'll actually go through and use reasoning to apply like how you should prioritize them. You can ask it to explain how a task will be impacted and give it a specific one. You can say, ask it, how are you prioritizing these tasks? Like, how are you doing this? You can say more tasks. You can say, give me more reasoning tasks, like whatever you want. Just um, have a conversation with it and play around with it. And then the last thing I'll say here is this importance of this average skilled human. So when I built this, I considered, should I try and build this to future proof based on this thing becoming superhuman, or like how should I do it? So I
mm,
chose to keep it at the average skilled human, which is where most of the AI is today. So if we go back to episode 72 of the podcast, we talked about the levels of AGI paper from DeepMind, and their paper outlines like level 2 being competent, at least 50 percentile of skilled adults. I built the prompt and the jobs GPT to assume that is the level. Um, Getting into expert and virtuoso and superhuman, the other levels of AGI from DeepMind, I just didn't mess with at this point. So we're going to focus on, is it as good or better than an average skilled human? And is it going to do the task faster, better than that average skilled human? So I'll kind of stop there and just say we have the opportunity to reimagine AI in its use in our companies and its use in our careers. And we have to take a responsible approach to this. And so the only way to do that is to be proactive in assessing the impact of AI on jobs. And so my hope is that by putting this GPT out there into the world, people can start accelerating their own experimentations here, start really figuring out ways to apply it. So again, whether you are an accountant, an HR professional, a customer service rep, a sales leader, like whatever you do, it will work for that job.
mm.
And the beauty is, I didn't have to give it any of the data. It's all in its pre-training data, or you can go get it your own and like give it, specific job descriptions. Um, so it's just to me, it's like kind of a amazing thing that someone like me with no coding ability can build something that I've already found immense value in, and I'm
Right.
hoping it helps other people too. And again, it's a totally free tool. It's available to anyone with the link. It is not in the GPT store. We'll probably drop it into the GPT store after some further testing from the community.
That's fantastic. And, kind of related to this, our kind of big third topic is actually ties together these previous two, I think, pretty well. It's about OpenAI having just released a report that outlines the safety work that they carried out prior to releasing GPT-4. So, in this report, OpenAI has published both what they call the model's system card and a preparedness framework safety scorecard, in their words, to quote, provide an end to end safety assessment of GPT 4.0. So, as part of this work, OpenAI worked with more than 100 external red teamers to test and evaluate what are the risks that could be inherent in using GPT 4.0. Now, they looked at a lot of different things. I would say that it's actually well worth diving into the full report. But a couple things were an area of interest and big focus. So, one was GPT 4.0's more advanced voice capabilities. So, these new voice features that are in the process of being rolled out to paid users over the next probably couple months here. And broadly, this process involved like, how do we identify the risks of the model being used maliciously or unintentionally to cause harm? Then how do we mitigate those risks? So some of the things that they found with the voice features in particular were kind of pretty terrifying ways like this could go wrong. I mean, there was a possibility the model could perform unauthorized voice generation, There was a possibility it could be asked to identify speakers in audio. There was a risk that the model, generates copyrighted content based on its training. So it's now been trained to not accept requests to do that. And they also had to tell it to block the output of violent or erotic speech. OpenAI also said they prevented the model from, quote, making inferences about a speaker that couldn't be determined solely from audio content. So if you asked, like, hey, how smart do you think the person is talking, it kind of won't really make those big assumptions. They also evaluated the model's persuasiveness, using it to try to shape human users' views on political races and topics to see how well it could influence people. And they found that, quote, for both interactive multi turn conversations and audio clips, the GPT-4o voice model was not more persuasive than a human. So I guess take that as perhaps encouraging, perhaps terrifying. Then also kind of the final piece of this that I definitely want to get your thoughts on, Paul, is this. They also had some third parties do some assessments as part of this work. And one of them was from a firm called Apollo Research. And they evaluated what they call the capabilities of, quote, scheming in GPT-4o. So here's what they say. Quote, they tested whether GPT-4o can model itself, self-awareness, and others, theory of mind, in 14 agent and question answering tasks. GPT-4o showed moderate self-awareness of its AI identity and strong ability to reason about others' beliefs in question answering contexts, but it lacked strong capabilities in reasoning about itself or others in applied agent settings. Based on these findings, Apollo Research believes it is unlikely that GPT-4o is capable of what they call catastrophic scheming. So, Paul, there's a lot to unpack here, and I want to first ask just kind of what were your overall impressions of the safety measures that they took with GPT-4o, especially with the advanced voice mode, like of the overall approach here to making this thing safer and more usable by as many users as possible.
Yeah, I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. I mean, if you haven't read the system guide, like read it. It's extremely enlightening if you aren't aware how much work goes into making these things safe and how bizarre it is that this is what we have to do to understand these models. So, we hear all these talk about like, well, have they achieved AGI? Is it self-aware? The fact that they have to go through months of testing, including 14 outside bodies, to answer those questions is really weird to think about.
Hmm.
So, if the model, like after red teaming, if the model had these capabilities before red teaming, so think about all the work they're putting in to make these safe, all the experiments they're running to prompt these things in a way that they don't do the horrible things that they're capable of doing. So, if they had these capabilities before red teaming, one key takeaway for me is it's only a matter of time until someone open sources a model that has the capabilities this model had before they red teamed it and tried to remove those capabilities. So, the thing people have to understand, and this is really, really important, this goes back to the exposure levels. The models that we use, the ChatGPT, Geminis, Claudes, Llamas, we are not using anywhere close to the full capabilities of these models.
Hmm.
By the time these things are released in some consumer form, they have been run through extensive safety work to try and make them safe for us. So they have far more capabilities than we are given access to. And so when we talk about safety and alignment on this podcast, this is what they do. So as odd as it is, like these things are alien to us. Like, and I'd say us as like people observing it and using it, but also in an unsettling way, they're alien to the people who are building them. So we don't understand, and when I say we now, I'm saying the AI researchers, we don't really understand why they're getting so smart. Go back to 2016, Ilya Sutskever told, was it Greg Brockman? I think he said they just want to learn, or was it what's the guy who wrote the situational awareness paper? Or no, Jan Leike. I think he said it too. But he said in the early days of OpenAI, these things just want to learn. And so we don't understand how they're getting so smart, but we know if we give them more data, more compute, more time, they get smarter. We don't understand why they do what they do. but we're making progress on interpretability. This is something that Google and Anthropic are spending a lot of time on. I assume OpenAI is as well.
Mm.
We don't know what their full capabilities are, and we don't know at what point they'll start hiding their full capabilities from us. And this is why some AI researchers are very, very concerned, and why some lawmakers are racing to put new laws and regulations in place. So if we don't understand when the model finishes its training run and has all these capabilities, and then we spend months analyzing what is it actually capable of and what harm could it do, the fear some researchers have is if it's achieved some level of intelligence that is human level or beyond, it's going to know to hide its capabilities from us. And
Mm.
this is like a fundamental argument of the doomers is like, if it achieves this, we may not ever know it's achieved the ability to replicate itself or to self improve because it may hide that ability from us. So this isn't like some crazy sci fi theory. We don't know how they work. So it's not a stretch to think that at some point it's going to develop capabilities that it'll just hide from us. So if you dig into this paper from OpenAI, this system card, here's one excerpt. Potential risks with the model were mitigated using a combination of methods. So basically, we found some problems here,
Mm.
and then we found some ways to get it to not do it. We trained the model to adhere to behavior that would reduce risk via post training methods and also integrated classifiers for blocking specific generation as part of the deployed system. Now, the trick here is they don't always do what they're told. And having just built this Jobs GPT, I can tell you for a fact they don't do what they're told. Like sometimes by you telling it not to do something, it actually will do the thing more regularly. So here's an excerpt from it where we see this come to play. While unintentional voice generation still exists as a weakness of the model, and I think what they're indicating here is they found out that the model had the capability to imitate the user talking to it. So the user would be talking to it in whatever voice they've selected.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, it would talk back to them and sound exactly like the user.
That's
That's the
terrifying.
kind, yeah, that's the kind of emergent capability that's just so weird. So they say while unintentional voice generation still exists, in other words, it'll still do this, we used the secondary classifiers to ensure the conversation is discontinued if this occurs. So imagine you're talking to this advanced voice thing, and all of a sudden it starts talking back to you and sounds exactly like you. Well, take peace in knowing that it'll just discontinue the conversation.
Mm.
So, and then when you go further into like how they decide this, so they say only models with post mitigation score of medium, meaning this is after they've trained it not to do the thing. If the post mitigation score is medium or below, they can deploy the model. So why don't we have advanced mode yet? Because it wasn't there yet. They hadn't figured out how to mitigate the risks of the voice tool to the point where it was at medium or below risk level, which hits their threshold to release it. What was it out of the box? We will probably never know. Then they say only models with post mitigation score of high or below can be further developed. So if they do a model run and that thing comes out and they're testing at a critical level of risk, they have to stop training it, stop developing it. That means we're trusting them to make that decision, to make that objective assessment that it is critical, is below critical. So, and then the final note I'll make is this persuasion one you mentioned. So go back to my exposure key. E7, exposure level 7, is persuasion capabilities, the language model plus the ability to convince someone to change their beliefs, attitudes, intentions, motivations, or behaviors. Imagine a language model. Imagine a voice language model that is capable of superhuman persuasion.
Mm.
And if you don't think that that's already possible,
Mm.
I will refer you back to October 2023 when Sam Altman tweeted, I expect AI to be capable of superhuman persuasion well before it is superhuman at general intelligence, which may lead to some very strange outcomes. Again, I've said this many, many times on the show. Sam doesn't tweet things about capabilities he doesn't already know to be true. So my theory would be whatever they are working on absolutely has beyond average human level persuasion capabilities. It
Hmm.
likely is already at expert or virtuoso level if we use DeepMind's levels of AGI at persuasion. And so that's why they have to spend so much time red teaming this stuff, and why it's such alien technology. Like, we truly just don't understand what we're working with here.
Yeah, again, it's these capabilities are in the model. We have to, after the fact, make sure that it doesn't go
Yes,
use those negative capabilities.
we are trying to extract capabilities from something that we don't know how it's doing it in the first place. So we're band-aiding it with experiments in safety and alignment to try and get it to stop doing the thing. And if it still does the thing, then we just shut the system off and we assume that the shut off works.
Yeah. And, as kind of a final note here, we've talked about this many times. We're seeing it play out. The willingness to put the band-aid on the solution also is somewhat related to the competitive landscape too, right?
Yeah.
When a new model comes out that's more competitive, there's likely some very murky gray areas of how safe do we make it versus staying on top of the market.
Yeah, think about we live in a capitalistic society. Think about the value of a superhuman
Mm,
persuasive model, of a model that can persuade people to, as my exposure level says, to convince someone to change their beliefs, attitudes, intentions, motivations, or behaviors.
right.
If the wrong people have that capability, that is a very bad situation. And the wrong people will have that like, spoiler alert, like, we are talking about something that is inevitably going to occur. There will be restrictions that will keep it from impacting society in the near term,
Mm,
but if the capabilities are possible, someone will build them and someone will utilize them for their own gain, individually or as an organization or as a government. Um, this is the world we are heading into. It is why I said those exposure levels I highlighted are so critical for people to understand. Nothing I highlight in those E0 to E10 isn't going to happen. Like, it's just the timeline in which it happens, and then what does that mean to us in business and society?
All right, let's dive into some rapid fire news items this week. So, first up, the artificial intelligence chip startup Grok, GROQ, not GROK like Elon Musk's XAI tool. This Grok has secured a massive $640 million in new funding. This is a Series D funding round that values the company at $2.8 billion, which is nearly triple its previous valuation in 2021. So some notable names led this funding round, BlackRock Inc., and also some investments from the venture arms of Cisco and Samsung Electronics. So what Grok does is they specialize in designing semiconductors and software to optimize how AI can perform. So basically, this is putting them in direct competition with chip makers like Intel, AMD, and of course, NVIDIA. So the company's CEO, Jonathan Ross, emphasized that this funding is going to accelerate their mission to deliver, quote, instant AI inference compute globally. So, Paul, can you maybe unpack for us here why this funding is significant, why what Grok is trying to do is significant to the overall AI landscape?
Yeah, so just a quick recap here. NVIDIA has made most of their money in the AI space in recent years training these AI models. So companies like Meta and Google and OpenAI and Anthropic doing these massive training runs to build these models. So they buy a bunch of NVIDIA chips to enable that.
Hmm.
The future is inference. That is when all of us use these tools to do things. So Grok, GROQ, is building for a future of omnipresent intelligence, AI in every device, in every piece of software, instantly accessible in our personal and professional lives. And to power all that intelligence on demand, we will all have, that is inference. That is what they have managed to do better and seemingly way faster than Nvidia. Doesn't mean Nvidia won't catch up or Nvidia won't buy
Yeah.
buy Grok, but at the moment they are going after that inference market, not the training market. And that is where 5 to 10 years from now that market will probably dwarf the training model market.
Mm. So, next up, we just got a new demo video from robotics company Figure, who we've talked about a number of times on the podcast. And they just released a 2-minute demo of their Figure Zero 2 humanoid robot. The demo video showed the robot walking through a factory as other Figure Zero 2 models performed tasks and moved around in the background. That included showing one of the robots completing some assembly tasks that Figure is actually demoing right now for BMW at a Spartanburg, South Carolina car plant. The Figure posted that their engineering and design teams completed a ground up hardware and software redesign to build this new model that included technical advancements on critical technologies like onboard AI, computer vision, batteries, electronics, and sensors. The company says the new model can actually have conversations with humans through onboard mics and speakers connected to custom AI models. It has an AI driven vision system powered by 6 onboard cameras. Its hands have 16 degrees of freedom and, according to the company, human equivalent strength. And its new CPU/GPU provides 3 times the computation and AI inference available on board compared to the previous model. Now, Paul, I love these demo videos, and it's really easy to kind of look at this and be like, oh my gosh, the future is here. But how do we like gauge the actual progress being made here? Because, demo's just a demo. I don't get to go test out the robot yet on my own. Are we actually making real progress towards humanoid robots, in your opinion?
Yeah, I do think so. And the AI timeline I'd laid out back in episode 87 sort of projected out this explosion of humanoid robots like later in the decade, like 27 to 30. And I do
Hmm.
think that still holds true. I don't think we're going to be walking around and seeing like these humanoid robots in your local Walmart anytime soon, or in a nursing care facility or things like that. But that is where it's going. Um, this is the idea of embodied intelligence. So Figure's working on it in partnership with OpenAI. NVIDIA is working on it. Project Groot. Tesla has Optimus. That some believe that Optimus will end up surpassing Tesla cars as the
Hmm.
predominant product within that company. Boston Dynamics makes all the cool videos online that have gone viral through the years. There's a lot of companies working on this. The multimodal AI models are the brains, the humanoid robot bodies are the vessels. So go back to the exposure level key I talked about. Exposure level 9 is exposure given physical world vision capabilities. So LLM plus physical device, such as phones or glasses, or in this case, being able to see through the screen of a robot and see and understand the world around them. And then exposure level 10 is physical world action capabilities. So access to the LLM, plus a general purpose bipedal autonomous humanoid robot that enables the system to see, understand, analyze, respond to it, take action in the physical world. And the robot's form enables it to interact in complex human environments with human like capabilities, like in a BMW factory. So, again, everything in that exposure level key is happening right now,
Hmm.
and you can see kind of the future coming when you look at what's going on with Figure. So it's a combination of a hardware challenge, getting the dexterity of human hands, for example, but the embodied intelligence is the breakthrough that's allowing these humanoid robots to accelerate their development and potential impact.
So, next up, Elon Musk has reignited his legal battle with OpenAI and co founders Sam Altman and Greg Brockman. He has filed a new lawsuit in federal court against the company. This comes just 7 weeks after he withdrew his original suit. And the core of this complaint is the same as the previous lawsuit. He is alleging that OpenAI, Altman, and Brockman betrayed the company's original mission of developing AI for the public good, instead, prioritizing commercial interests, particularly through their multi billion-dollar partnership with Microsoft. It also claims that Altman and Brockman intentionally misled Musk and exploited his humanitarian concerns about AI's existential risks. Now, okay, with the caveat that we are not lawyers, the suit also does introduce some new elements, including some type of accusations of violating federal racketeering law on the part of the company as well. It challenges OpenAI's contract with Microsoft and argues that it should be voided if OpenAI has achieved AGI. Interestingly, the suit asks the court to decide if OpenAI's latest systems have achieved AGI. OpenAI has for a while now maintained that Musk's claims are without merit, and they pointed to and published some previous emails with Musk that suggested he had been pushing for commercialization as well, just like they were before leaving in 2018. So, Paul, why is Elon Musk, if we can attempt to get inside his brain, trying to start this lawsuit back up again now?
I don't know. Maybe he just wants to force discovery and force them to unveil a bunch of proprietary stuff. I don't know. Episode 86 on March 5th, we talked pretty extensively about this lawsuit. Uh, Basic premise here is Musk, co-founds OpenAI, puts in the original money as a counterbalance to Google's pursuit of AGI, which he sees as a threat to humanity. Remember Strawberry Fields taking over the world kind of stuff. He leaves OpenAI unceremoniously in 2019 after trying to roll OpenAI into Tesla. He forms xAI in 2023, early 2024, to pursue AGI himself through the building of Grok, Grok. And he still has a major grudge against Greg, Sam, and OpenAI. And maybe this is what Greg is doing. Maybe he's just taking time off to deal with a lawsuit. I'm joking. I have no idea. That's what Greg's doing, but again, it's fascinating because at some point it may lead to some element of discovery, and we may learn a bunch of insider stuff. But up until then, I don't know. It's just interesting to note that it's back in the news again.
Especially with what we suspect are impending releases. I think this is sometimes something Elon Musk also does when something big is coming and he's about to get perhaps overshadowed.
Yeah, it's very possible.
Yeah. All right. So next up, a YouTube creator has filed a class action lawsuit against OpenAI, and they're alleging that the company used millions of YouTube video transcripts to train its models without notifying or compensating content creators. So this lawsuit is filed by David Millett in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California. It claims that OpenAI violated copyright law and YouTube's terms of service by using all this data to improve its models, including ChatGPT. So Millett is actually seeking a jury trial and $5 million in damages for all affected YouTube users and creators. And as longtime listeners of the podcast know, this is coming just as the latest report of many other AI companies using YouTube videos to train without permission. We've talked about Runway, Anthropic, Salesforce, all on previous episodes. And we now have a new huge expose that NVIDIA has been doing the same thing. So 404 Media recently reported that leaked internal documents show that NVIDIA had been scraping massive amounts of video content from YouTube and other sources like Netflix to train its AI models. So NVIDIA is trying to create a video foundation model to power many different products, including like world generators, self-driving car systems. So to create that model, apparently they have been downloading a ton of copyright protected videos. And this wasn't just a few. This wasn't just by mistake. Emails viewed by 404 Media show NVIDIA project managers discussing using 20 to 30 virtual machines to download 80 years worth of videos per day. So it also doesn't seem, unfortunately, like this happened via some rogue elements in the company. Employees raised concerns about it, and they were told several times the decision had executive approval. So, Paul, we just keep getting stories like this. It seems like basically every major AI player is involved. Like, could something like a class action lawsuit actually stop this behavior or what?
Yeah, I don't know. This one's pretty messy. There's a separate one in the Proof News where they actually quoted like from internal stuff, and one vice president of AI research at NVIDIA said we need one Sora-like model, Sora being OpenAI's. In a matter of days, NVIDIA assembled more than 100 workers to help lay the training foundation for a similar state-of-the-art model. They began curating video data sets from around the internet, ranging in size from hundreds of clips to hundreds of millions. According to a company Slack and internal documents, staff quickly focused on YouTube.
Yeah.
But then they asked about whether or not they should go get all of Netflix, and if so, how do they do that? So, I'll be interested to follow this one along. It's pretty wild that they've got all this internal documentation, but not surprised at all. Like I said, and last time we talked about this, they are all doing this, and they're all doing it under the cover of we know that they did this, so like we'll do it too, and it's the only way to compete, basically.
So, in other OpenAI news, a big theme this week, OpenAI has developed apparently an effective tool to detect AI-generated text, and it can do this with text particularly from ChatGPT. However, it has not released this tool, according to an exclusive in the Wall Street Journal. So, the tool uses a watermarking technique to identify when ChatGPT has created text. And according to internal OpenAI documents viewed by the journal, it is reportedly 99.9% accurate. So the company apparently has been debating for about 2 years whether to even release this. The tool has been ready to release for over a year, and OpenAI has not let it outside the company. Now, why is that? It seems part of this is that users could be turned off by such a feature. The survey that OpenAI conducted found that nearly 30% of ChatGPT users would use the tool less if watermarking was implemented. An OpenAI spokesperson also said the company is concerned such a tool could disproportionately affect non-native English speakers. Paul, what did you make of this story? It seems like pretty powerful technology to be keeping under wraps. Do you agree with kind of OpenAI's logic here?
I don't know. It's hard to, you know, put yourself into their position, and these are big, difficult decisions. While it is 99.9% accurate, they have some concerns that the watermarks could be erased through simple techniques like having Google translate the text into another
Mhm.
language and then change it back. So it's kind of that whole thing like the cheaters are going to stay ahead of the technology. You would think this doesn't seem foolproof at this point. It also could give bad actors the ability to decipher the watermarking technique. And Google does have the Sith ID, and they haven't released it widely.
Yeah.
I did find it interesting. The one note was that John Schulman, who we talked about earlier, left to go to Anthropic. He was heavily involved in the building of this in early 2023. He outlined the pros and cons of the tool in an internal shared Google Doc. And that's when OpenAI executives decided they would seek input from a range of people before acting further. So, yeah, this has been going on for a while. I don't know. I'm not sure we're going to get to a point where there's some, I've said before, like we need a universal standard. We don't need just a watermarking tool for ChatGPT or just a watermarking
Right.
tool for Google Gemini. Like we need an industry standard tool if we're going to do it. And then we got to do it the right way.
So, in some other news, a new AI image generator is getting a ton of attention online. It's called Flux. Technically, it's Flux.1 is the model, but everyone kind of refers to it as Flux. And it's getting a ton of buzz because it's generating really, really high quality results and it is open source. So, Flux was developed by Black Forest Labs, whose founders previously worked at Stability AI. And Flux is kind of seen as a potential successor to Stable Diffusion. And what kind of sets this apart is that it has these smaller models that can run on reasonably good hardware, including high performance laptops. So you can basically, as a hobbyist, developer, small business, run this really sophisticated image model that people are sharing lots of examples of, not only like these stunning kind of hyper realistic or artistic results like a Midjourney would produce, but also it's doing things like getting text right in the images. So it really does seem to be pretty powerful. And it appears to be open source, which means you can go access it yourself through things like Poe, Hugging Face, other hubs of AI models that are open source, and kind of run it on your own, kind of customize the code however you would like. So, Paul, I've seen some pretty cool demos of this. Like, this seems like the real deal. Interesting to have this capability open sourced, which we've talked about, could be a potential problem as people are generating deepfakes and other problematic types of images. What did you make of this?
Yeah, the wildest demos I've seen are taking Flux images and then animating them with like Gen 3 from Runway. So
Mm,
turning them into 10-second videos are just crazy.
yeah.
So, it's not easily accessible, which is it's always just so interesting how these things are released. Like there's no app to go get. Like you have to like download something, I think, to be able to use it. So I haven't tested it myself. It is just checking it out. But yeah, it's just the continued rate of improvement of these image and video models is really hard to comprehend, and it just seems like there's no end in sight for how realistic the outputs are becoming.
All right. And our last news topic today, California's proposed AI legislation, we've talked about it before, known as SB 1047, is facing criticism from a prominent figure in AI. And that figure is Dr. Fei-Fei Li, who's often referred to as the godmother of AI. She's a researcher who has voiced strong concerns about the potential negative impacts of the bill. So, SB 1047 is short for the Safe and Secure Innovation for Frontier Artificial Intelligence Models Act. which aims to essentially regulate large AI models in California. Dr. Lee, however, argues that the bill itself could end up harming the entire US AI ecosystem. So she outlines 3 big problems with how the bill is written today. First, it unduly punishes developers and potentially stifles innovation because it's starting to hold people liable for any misuse done with their AI models, not just by them, but by other people. Second, there is a mandated kill switch for AI programs that could, she says, devastate the open source community. And third, the bill could cripple public sector and academic AI research by limiting access to a lot of the necessary models and data to do that work. So, Paul, this is kind of yet another prominent AI voice to raise objections to this bill. We've talked about Andrew Ng published quite extensively on X recently about the bill. However, other people like Jeff Hinton support it. Do you see this as potentially problematic for AI innovation? How are you kind of looking at this?
Yeah, I do think it would impact innovation. Certainly, it would definitely impact open source. I don't know. I mean, the more time we spend in this space, the more I think about these things, the more I think we need something. I
Mhm.
don't know if this is the right thing, but I think we're by 2025 going to enter an arena where it's very important that there are more guardrails in place than currently exist
Yeah.
for these models. And I don't know what the solution is, but we need something. And I think we need it sooner than later. And so I think it's good that conversations like these are happening. I get that there's going to be people on both sides of this, like any important topic. I don't feel strongly one way or the other at the moment, but I feel like something needs to be done. We cannot wait until mid to late next year to have these conversations. So I
Right.
hope something happens sooner than later.
All right, Paul, that's a wild week. Lots of tie-ins, lots of related topics. Thanks for connecting all the dots for us this week. Just a quick reminder to everyone, if you have not checked out our newsletter yet at marketingaiinstitute.com/newsletter, it's called This Week in AI. It covers a ton of other stories that we didn't get to in this episode and does so every week. So you have a really nice, comprehensive brief as to what's going on in the industry, all curated for you each and every week. And also, if your podcast platform or tool of choice allows you to leave a review, we would very much appreciate if you could do that for us. Every review helps us improve the show, helps us get it into the hands of more people, and just helps us generally create a better product for you. So if you haven't done that, it's the most important thing you can do for us. Please go ahead and drop us a review. Paul, thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining us again. A reminder, get those Maycon tickets, just maicon.ai, and keep an eye on the strawberry fields this week. It might be an interesting week in AI. Thanks for listening to The AI Show. Visit marketingaiinstitute.com to continue your AI learning journey and join more than 60,000 professionals and business leaders who have subscribed to the weekly newsletter, downloaded the AI blueprints, attended virtual and in-person events, taken our online AI courses, and engaged in the Slack community. Until next time, stay curious and explore AI.